Our next speaker, Sarita, came up here from Portland, but really before that she came from Austin, and then she came from Vegas, and this woman is very serious about her travel schedule. Those were all work trips, but she's going to talk to us about how to do all of this and still take 100 days off a year, which I know you all want to know. Sarita.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? And Marguerite, thank you so much for having me. And yes, you're going to hear a lot about my travel. I love to travel. But as I'm listening to all the speakers today, there's obviously a theme in terms of authenticity and community. And the truth is, I learned pretty much that I felt like I was a fraud. I put my clients first all the time, like all the time. I'd answer the phone in the middle of dinner. I would be Seth in the morning, look at my phone. I would say good morning to my phone before I said good morning to my husband. Literally, my clients came first before everything. And then I had a couple of sort of aha moments. One was somebody who I worked with for several years on a committee turned to me and asked me if I had kids. I'm like, really? Like, I really thought that my family was, I really believe my family's a big part of who I am, and the fact that they didn't know that made me feel like a fraud. And then another aha moment was, thank you. When my daughter looked at me and said, Mama, sometimes I wish we were your client, then you'd have time for us. And I know, it hurts. So I thought I was doing like all the right things for my clients, and I realized I wasn't really doing the right things for me, and I had to get selfish. So I'm going to go into some of the things that these ahas did for me, and I have to take you back just a little bit because you're going to find how I'm wired. I am a bit of a cuckoo, and that's why I even travel the way I do. But so I'm just going to take you back first and just give you my brief story. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Woohoo! Yeah, Michigan. My parents came over from India in '64. Immigrant parents coming here for education and to better life for our family. We believe in education so much we don't even put books on the floor. That's how my parents are. So strong work ethic that I learned from watching them. I went to college to get my degree in electrical engineering, and I actually went to a school in Michigan that was 12 weeks, basically 1 quarter school, 1 quarter work, 1 quarter school, 1 quarter work. We were in school 48 weeks working and going to school. The 4 weeks that I had off at Christmas and in the summer, what did I do? I worked. I was basically a worker. Got my electrical engineering degree with my MBA. After college, I traveled around the world for 3 months backpacking. So that was like the first part of the wanderlust that I got from traveling. And then I just set off to work. 14 years in high tech, in sales and marketing, business development, loving life. Never thought I'd be a real estate agent. I just love my life. Ended up in Portland because my husband got a job at Nike. So here we are, 2 fairly young professionals with a young family working. Anytime there was an ear infection, it was rock, paper, scissors, who's gonna stay back? And we just didn't have family support in Portland, so we were really just trying to figure this thing out by ourselves. Then one day my husband said, maybe you should think about doing something different. I kind of went off, like, why? Because I'm the little lady and I got to stay home while you work? Nothing wrong with those people that do, but I was, and he redeemed himself really well. He said, no, he goes, I pinch myself at my job. I love it. I literally look forward to work, and you don't seem to love it the way I do. You should find your bliss. So he did redeem himself pretty good, because I used to have, when you work at a 4-person startup, your stomach is in knots at times because you just don't know what you're going to face. So I started somewhere along the way not loving what I did. So that's what got me into real estate, because I had done my MBA in entrepreneurial management. How could you basically start your own business and you basically have your own practice? You go on Shark Tank, right? You need a lot of cash to start something. This is a great way, being service-oriented, to start your own business and do your own thing. So that's kind of how that started. So now we're going to kind of take this back to travel. I love travel. It's what makes me happy. When I say I, it's me and my family as well. And we kind of decided, we know this, right, from Facebook. People are you have these plans, like we're gonna do this, we're gonna follow this track, and then we're gonna retire, and then we're gonna go to Europe and do all this. And guess what? You kind of have to do it now. You don't know if you're gonna get sick, or you're gonna be immobile, or you may have family obligations, or not be able to do it financially. We just sort of believed if you're gonna do it, and do it now. Don't put stuff off for later. So, travel, right? Yeah, I like traveling. I like seeing different parts of the world. As a family, we experience different cultures. We're big, risky food eaters. We'll try anything. But I'll be straight with you, there was a pretty selfish component on why we travel. We had to get the heck out of Dodge. Because guess what? When you're around the world, you're in a different time zone, and then your people can't call you. And when you're sightseeing, you can leave your phone at the hotel, and you actually can have a life. You are that extreme. I don't know if you guys saw, I'm sure you guys saw the movie The Martian, right? When my team calls me now and asks me a question, I'm like, pretend I'm Matt Damon and you can't reach me. What are you gonna do? Like, it literally forced me to physically get away so that I could have my life, and also I can enable my team to make decisions without me. So for me, travel was a bit selfish, but it was kind of how I could. I'm a workaholic freak. If I was home and someone needed to see me at 10 o'clock on a weekend because they want to list their house, I'd probably go do it because I want to help my people. So I kind of had to physically get away. So this is a picture of me and my family at Machu Picchu. Our family values really kind of, for me, it's family and education, and travel is the perfect hybrid of family and education because you're with your family and you're learning about the world. I'm just going to pause and say, I don't care if it's travel for you guys. Figure out what your thing is. Maybe it isn't taking 100 days off to go see the world. Maybe it's 100 days off because you want to start a new business or form a charity or go get educated in a different field. Whatever your thing is. So when you listen to my talk, when I talk about travel, just replace it with whatever is important to you. And that's basically what you have to be so focused on to make the changes you're going to need to make. So the first thing is, when you, like I said, travel is mine. Whatever your thing is, figure out why, and be like incredibly annoying about it, like a 4-year-old, right? Like, why? Why is that important? And then you're going to answer the question, and then they're going to say, but why? Really get to the core of why that's so important to you, because guess what? This isn't easy. And the minute it isn't easy, you're going to put it off and be like, I tried. I took a few days off, but work calls and I have to do this. You have to be pretty deliberate about making a change, and you have to want it really badly. So you need to first understand why you want to do whatever your goal is in terms of time off, why you want to do it. And then, this goes against how I started this talk about being there for my clients all the time. You have to be incredibly selfish about it. You really do have to put this as a goal in front of everything. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So you have to learn how to say no to anything, like for me, that got in the way of time with my family or traveling. Now, that doesn't mean I travel 365 days a year and I'm not working. Obviously, what I do is I work really hard when I'm not traveling to make up for it, right? But at any given time, I know when I'm going next and what it means to me. So you do have to be okay with saying no, especially if you were like me, who said yes to everything before kind of having this light bulb light for me. So every year, kind of now we're going to get into some of the tactics of exactly how you do it. Every year, I started with a days out calendar. So it's simple, right? I mean, a calendar. It can be, people have been talking about their content calendars. It can be a Google spreadsheet. It doesn't matter what it is. But at the beginning of the year, write down all the days you're going to be out of the office. For me, I'm cheating. My 100 days includes trips like this one where you're at a conference. And actually, I'm going to bring up Valerie. She took vacation to be here because this tribe means so much to her. So these trips that we do, sometimes they're for personal development, but we have to admit there's a reason we pick the ones we do, because we want to be with the people that inspire us, right? So you put your conferences and your business trips down. I put my family vacations. I have some one-on-one trips with my husband. We do an annual girls' college weekend every year. I mean, I graduated a million years ago, but we still do that every year. All of those trips get written down. So you can't read this, but it's a spreadsheet, and it's my 2015 calendar. And again, you'll see that there's conferences like Inman and different KW events and so forth. But there's some pretty cool trips on there too. I'm just looking at this now from 2015. We started our year in Brazil and Argentina. We did Shanghai, Cambodia, and Vietnam. There's a bunch of domestic trips in there that were for fun too, but we also did Iceland, Greece, and Morocco, Austria, Budapest, Milan, Hawaii. We had some fun. So this year also, in 2016, we've done, Russia for our 20th anniversary, Copenhagen, Hawaii again. We're doing India, Dubai, and Nepal at Christmas. So I do have fun, and there is work in there too. But you have to have the days written down, and then you basically, for me, I do everything I need to do in between trips. What's really exciting though is there was rarely ever a 4 to 6 week gap till my next trip. So it became my focus and you can do anything if you have a trip around the corner, right? Or whatever your thing is, right? If you have something to look forward to, you'll cram everything you need to do to get to that next milestone. So I know it seems simple, but just write it down and then that becomes your basically your nav, like your compass on what you need to follow to make it happen. So exactly what did I do to really kind of pull this off? Like I said, you have to plan. It's so funny. I could be dead tired, about to pass out, but I'll still be looking up reservations or on TripAdvisor because I love it so much. So you have to plan. Here's another tip. You have to be incredibly efficient. This is where the insanity in me comes out. If you're going to take like a week to go to Mexico, make it 1 week and not 3. And let me explain by that. If you're going on vacation for a week, I've seen it with my friends. The week before, they're talking about their vacation, they're buying their sunscreen and their magazines and their swimsuits, they're telling everybody about their trip. You know what? You might as well be gone because you're not working. Then you go on your wonderful 1 week trip, and then you come back, here we go. Jet lag, laundry, Facebook posts. Did you see the awesome pictures from my trip? That 1 week off becomes a 3 week interruption to your business. Take the 1 week, but take the 1 week. Now, I'm insane. I think you're starting to get this now. I literally will be at Delta Sky Club on my last phone call before we get on the plane. Then they'll shut the door and we're on the plane. When we went to Vietnam, I'm on the plane. My husband looks at me and says, hey, what's the plan? I'm like, well, we have 14 hours in this awesome book. We will figure it out by the time we land. Because I worked until I worked. And then when I got on the plane, I was on vacation. And I was the crazy that when we landed from Vietnam, I literally budgeted 2 hours for customs and a shower, and I had 4 appointments back to back. No jet lag though, that's the good part, and I have an awesome husband who doesn't mind grocery and laundry. So, but you know what? You don't have to be as insane as I am, but you do have to know why it's important to you, and you do have to focus to make it happen. It doesn't automatically happen. So be efficient. And then leverage things that you're either not good at or that are stealing your time away. It just makes sense. You don't have to be the person who's going to sell 1,000 houses and have this mega team if that's not who you are. But for me, I needed to leverage paperwork and I needed to leverage showings because both of those things were taking me away from my family and were taking a lot of time. So figure out what are the things that are taking your time and definitely leverage those things. And then this is just a simple strategy, but every day, like it's so easy to get kind of in task minutia, like, oh, I have 50 things, and I added 10 and I got 4 done, and somehow every day my list gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I use an app, and I'm like always wondering, like, how does this list, like I feel like I just add more than I get done. So every day I just wake up knowing what are the 3 big things I have to do today, and I pretty much do them every day. Now, am I perfect? No. There will be some days where I do 2. And guess what? It's a shitstorm happened at the office, and you thought you'd do these 3 things, and then your day got sidetracked and you didn't get those 3 done. Well, then get 2 done and move the 3rd thing to the next day, but do it the next day. I mean, we're human. We're not perfect. But I find if I focus on 3, I'm more likely to get those 3 done, and they're not going to be the oh, I turned in this form, let me write it down and cross it off. Like, they're my big 3 things. And my brain just works better, like, kind of looking at those big rocks. So the top 3 thing does work well for me. So kind of going back to real estate, models. There's models out there that are tested, kind of like what Kendall was saying. I kind of like to be cool and different. I have like a round business card. And I always try to like sort of Sarita everything and make it a little bit better. And then I'm like, you know what? It doesn't have to always be better. It can just sort of be. So there'll be some times where I'll get creative, but then there's other times where I'm like, you know what? Success leaves clues. People have done this before me. I could just sort of do it as opposed to having to do it better. Because sometimes when you do it better, you're so caught up in doing it better that you actually don't do it at all. So there's models out there. They're tested. I followed them. I also got a coach. I'm not pushing coaching. It doesn't matter if that coach is your sibling or a family member. Just get somebody that holds you accountable by telling them your goals. Telling them your goals, writing it down, and then making sure they can call you on it is a huge way for you to stick to your goals. The other thing I did, and this is so dumb, but it worked for me, I found that when I was sitting in my office with my transaction coordinator and my listing coordinator, man, I was trying to do their job. I mean, guess what? I don't really care if the sewer scope happened or if the radon machine got dropped off. And the fact that we were sharing space, I just sort of knew way too much about their job. That what happened for us is when we moved into a new house, it happened to have an office, and I wasn't planning to move home. But when I called my transaction coordinator and I said, hey, I'm thinking of trying moving home and working from home for a bit. He's like, hey, I'll be over in 30 minutes with your chair and your monitor. He was so excited because, you know what? The minute I got away from my team, we all got more efficient because you're kind of like that doctor in an OR. At first, you'll say scalpel, and they'll hand you the scalpel, and then pretty soon, you don't have to say anything. They'll hand you the scalpel, and then shit, you could go have coffee and they can do the surgery, right? Like, you start learning how to read each other's mind. And that sort of happens when you test the system by leaving and then start learning. Like now, my assistant and I are to the point where we get an email and one of us can respond, we're on it, and we inherently know that we know who's on it. Is it her or is it me that's going to respond? Because we've just gotten in that sort of ESP thing where we can read each other's mind. So for me, building a bunker meant getting away from my team and just focusing on what I needed to do. And again, I'm not advocating everybody go, run away from your office and, go sit in your home office. Figure out what's that time stealer for you and where you're getting distracted and how you work well. There's some people that wouldn't get out of bed if they work from home. So it just sort of depends on your personality, but that's what worked for me. So masterminding, I don't have to make a case for that. We're all here masterminding, learning from the best, and I always want to be the dumbest person in the room and just learn from others. So just mastermind and share ideas, and honestly, I also challenge you guys, teach. If you teach something, whether it's in your office or in your community, you learn. I mean, it's kind of like Weight Watchers, right? You're going to just not eat the cupcake if you're teaching the class. You're going to just sort of follow those models because you believe in them. It just makes you a better agent if you're out there sharing your knowledge with others. I learned that for me, lead gen and honestly, talent gen, looking for people, it's an ongoing thing. And so that's another thing that, you can't kind of pull off being gone all the time unless you have great people to back you up when you're gone. And that doesn't happen. You can't, by the time you need somebody, you're a little bit too late because then you're going to hire from pain. So you have to kind of make that a goal all the time. This is my org chart. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I have just a unique model, so I'm just going to share 2 minutes on it. I have a transaction coordinator and a listing coordinator, but what I do is I have buyer's agents that actually are kind of hybrid buyer's agent showing agents. They do everything from calling, I'm not going to call them a lead, but calling a person, whether it's somebody from the internet or somebody from our sphere, cultivating the relationship. They do the consult, they show property, and they'll find the house. I'll actually swoop in and I'll write the offer. So it's kind of an innovative model, but it's been working really well for me. They're super happy, and they, we can talk offline at bar camp about splits and everything else, but it's just a cool model that's worked for us. So my message to you is, like, for me, I've leveraged paperwork and showing houses, but I also got innovative with the model that works for me. And so there's no right or wrong. You just have to find out what works for you. What works for you. My 4 jobs really is I negotiate offers, I take listings, I coach my team, and I talk to my own sphere. Those are the things that I do on a regular basis. So this is just a chart from this isn't me saying, oh, look how much real estate I've sold, but from like 2011 to 2014, I was the girl that just focused on production. How am I gonna sell 60 million? How am I gonna sell 70 million? How am I gonna sell more? So the goal was, how many families can we help and how many houses can we sell? I started flipping that to really be changing my goals from production to how many days off can I have. So in 2014, I did 68 million and took 68 days off. And as we know, the world's kind of getting gamified, right? So my game became, how can I do about the same in business and go from 68 days off to 100 days off? That was sort of, and it became a game. Like, could I do it? Could I take 100 days off and not crater my business, basically? Well, I'm proud to report in 2015, I didn't hit 68. I was more close to 60, but I did exceed my 100 days. I took 139. And this year we're right about 130 as well. And my production still starts with a 6. We might hit 70 this year. So it's working, and part of it is just making that, I changed the way I think. And instead of being, how much do we sell, it's how can I take more and more time off. And all of that, changing from being production-based to days off base, enables this, which is my family, which just went away. But, and so you just got to find what works for you, and that's kind of all I had to share. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
So you said you used an app to help you organize your tasks.
She asked, what app do you use to organize your tasks? I happen to use Wunderlist. I really like it because it's on your phone or Android. It can also be on the Mac or whatever computer you use. And then the stars are the ones I have to do that day. So it's just a simple. W-U-N-D-E-R-L-I-S-T. There is, for me, there is still a satisfaction of marking it off. So that's why I like having that list with me all the time. And so I use Wunderlist. Question?
Can you talk a little about the expectations you set with your clients around your time away?
Yep. So the question is, how do you tell your clients, how do you set expectations? This is where one of the biggest areas where I had felt like a fraud before, because I felt like I was sneaking and that I was like not true to myself, or like if it was a 2 or 3 day trip, I'm not even going to tell them and hopefully they won't notice. And then I kind of like the conversation we were just having with Amy, talking about like, how do you just be true to your values? I just kind of said, you know what, this is a big part of who I am. And we've put a team in place so that, like, so what happened in our market as our market started shifting, I explained, like, this is how our model works, and you're going to have multiple people that will get you into a house. And to be honest, that's not my thing. I'm not an inventory specialist like my team is. We are always going to get you into a house, and if you actually waited for me, you're going to lose your house, basically, because I might be out of town or I might just be at my kid's lacrosse game. But I don't want you, like, if I can do it and if I'm available, I can do it. But I want to make sure there's always more than one person so that you will never miss an opportunity. I think most of our issues are kind of in our head, right? If you just lay it out like this is how it's going to work, they're going to nod and they're going to be like, great. And I also explain, like, look, we do sell a lot of houses, so like, we're busy people. That doesn't mean, you're going to be important to us, but like if you want the person that's doing nothing and is around 24/7, they may not have sold that much and they may not have the experience you're going to need. So I just kind of lay it out and they sort of respect it. When I'm gone for just a week, we have like a coverage model that's just within our team. But if it's 2 or 3 weeks, then I make sure I have another agent that I'll pull in as well. And I guess what I learned is just people just want to know how it's going to work. And usually when I'm dancing around it, it's more my issue than theirs. Judy. So Judy's question is it written? It is not written in something that's collateral, but it's so scripted, it just rolls off my tongue. And it's part of our consult, and our buyer's agents speak it too. And so it's just a big part of kind of who we are. It's just not something that I leave behind like on a postcard or anything. Yep. So that's a good question. I don't post a lot of pictures of my travels, and it's just sort of become, for me, it's kind of personal. I'm a bit of a freak too. Like, I think after the trip, I might talk about it, but I am one of those people, like, I don't like to hugely advertise where I am and the fact that I'm not in town, more for safety than like, hi, rob me, I'm gone for a month. The Iceland, Greece, Morocco trip was 32 days in a row, and it was a great trip. We did 50 days in '09 to India, Singapore, and Bali, and for that trip we did a blog, and we invited people to, if they were interested in our travels, to subscribe to the blog. I'm just, honestly, I'm pretty, as intense I am with my phone, I'm pretty offline when I'm on my trips, and I have like a beautiful camera that I like to take pictures, but I'm not about socially documenting them. Yeah.
You talked about the team. I didn't hear anything about who does marketing. Would you mind telling us again your team components?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually fairly lean for the kind of business that we do. Sure, the question is, can you tell us a little bit about your team in detail, like who does the marketing and how's it laid out? And the answer is, I think we're pretty lean as a team. We sort of fluctuate between 2 and 4 buyer's agents at any time. I have a transaction coordinator that does paperwork, everything from contract to close. I have a listing coordinator that does everything on the listing side from a project management standpoint. So if Judy said, hey, she's my seller, and she said, hey, you've got the listing, he'll DocuSign the agreement, he'll order the sign, meet the photographer, do the photo shoot, put it in MLS and on our staging side for me to review and push live. So he does sort of everything listing related. From a marketing perspective, we actually don't do a ton of marketing. 65 to 70% of our business is fear-based, and then we do have some internet leads, but we're not doing a ton. We don't have a specific, I've sort of toyed with a marketing customer service hire. I haven't found the right, I've gone through it a couple times and I haven't found the right person yet. So we're a little bit light on the marketing side. So, but that, and then we do have an ISA that is just calling people that are in our database and just saying, hey, at one point you were looking to buy a house, are you still out there? So just sort of nurturing our database. Sorry, an ISA is an inside sales agent or associate that's sort of a telemarketer role. Yep.
So tell me what the 3 hours a day on the phone with your SOI looks like.
So my 3 hours a day, her question is, what does your 3 hours a day on your calling your sphere of influence look like? To me, it's just calling my past clients and asking how they're doing. I come from contribution. I'm not big on, hi, do you need to buy or sell a house? They kind of know what I do. More just, we were talking every second, and we haven't talked in a while. How are you doing? Do you need anything? My brand is Ask Sarita, which, hey, if you have questions, big or small, AskSarita.com. Maybe they want to sell their house, but maybe they just need a roofer or they need an interior designer. Anything you need, I'm here for you. Most of the time you ask somebody, they don't really need anything, and they just appreciate you just touching base. So it's really just a how's it going call. And then if we have a marketing event, I'll mention, like we do a pie giveaway, and we do a summer barbecue. If we have something coming up as an event, I'll mention the event. If we have an interesting new service, like, hey, we can subscribe you to a market snapshot or something, we'll mention, hey, we have this cool service, would you like to be part of it? But it's still pretty low key. Yes?
How many people are in your system?
8 to 9. So I should have more. Her question is how many people are in your database. I've actually been really proud of the fact that we've been upping our price point as well. We went from $330 to $430 to $447 to $502. We're at $502 right now. So I'm like at 150, 160 deals per year. So technically I should have thousands and thousands of people in my database, but I probably have about 800 solid people. My goal is to continue to grow that, but I just haven't been great at it, so we're focused on it now.
So if you went on a listing appointment to a repeat client and you were going to work with your buyer's agent, at what point would you introduce the buyer's agent to that seller?
I'll just say it like, so if I'm at the listing appointment, they want to sell their house and now they want to buy one, I just tell them about it right away. Like, hey, I want to introduce you to our team. I'm going to have Lisa be your person. She's going to get you into anything you want to see. But unlike many teams, when you're ready to write that offer, I'm your person and I'll be very involved with the process. They're like, great, have her call me. They've never said, oh, we only want to work with you. Yep.
Where do you find good travel deals?
Oh, great question. Where do you find good travel deals? I have a couple of really good travel agents that specialize in wholesale tickets. I'm also pretty loyal to Delta. I'm kind of a Delta mile whore. I love first class upgrades on Delta. And then I do a lot of my research on TripAdvisor. I don't know if we have the best deals per se, but I spend more time kind of figuring out where we're going to go by going on forums and talking to people. I also like Viator for day trips. Like if you're in Europe, let's say you're in Italy and your travel agent's like, would you like to go see the Vatican or do this or do that? Your travel agent's charging you $200 or $300. I can find it for $50 usually on Viator. Yeah, Viator, it's like aviator without the A, viator.com. It's just basically a source of any kind of day trip or excursion, a cooking class or a trip to a museum or almost any activity, even if you're like a adventure junkie or if you want, or a history junkie or like anything.